Hey folks, good afternoon, good people. And welcome to the Daily Brexit. Reporting for Euro Disneyland for Infowars.com. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, deep pockets. Corporate fraud investigator Gordon Bowden has untangled a myriad of shell companies used to steal taxpayers' money, signed off by politicians into bogus projects. And he challenges the likes of former prime ministers to sue him for his claims on their collusion. Gordon Bowden, thank you very much indeed for popping in, sir. How big is this network of shell companies?
Well, having studied it for 17 years, I think I've got most of their conduit addresses. And when you lay them out sequentially, what you find out is that they operate passing the shell companies to conduit addresses, which then move overseas to Panama. You've seen the Panama Papers. They all say it came out of an office in Panama. Well, it wasn't. It actually came out of Envision House in Hitchin. And Envision House is the same address of Mossack Fonseca and a company called RM Registrars, which is Raymond Morris, which is the old tobacco group. So if you want to do the money trail from Panama, it's quite easy, really, because it all comes back to the United Kingdom. And that's why they don't want to expose in full detail the Panama Papers. It's not in Panama, it's here in the UK.
Okay, Panama Papers, for example, implicated Ian Cameron, the Prime Minister, the then Prime Minister's father. So let me just get this right.
That was in Blairmore Holdings.
Let me get this right, how this works. What you're saying is that people pay their taxes, for example, into the local council tax, and then that tax, for example, gets used somehow, gets spent into one of these shell companies and evaporates with no service actually being provided. Is that correct?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the companies that are set up as shell companies are used to move cash offshore, which should otherwise be examined by HMRC as tax avoidance, as you will see in many of the companies that I've disclosed on the internet. And if you want to research the full issues where I have disclosed them, you'd have to put 788 790 Finchley Road and then put my name after it, not the other way around.
I'll tell you what, if you do that actually in a search engine, I'll show you what you get. I mean, I don't normally use Google, but if you do and you put in Gordon Bowden Finchley Road, you get 3 results, one of them of which actually is not to do with Gordon Bowden and Finchley Road, although it is one of the people that he alleges is a crook. Tony Blair is linked there. But there are 2 stories, both from blasting news. Your allegations are enormous. They involve former prime ministers, ministers, Bilderberg members, and you have taken this body of evidence to, for example, the BBC. We're not seeing it here when we Google. Why not?
Unfortunately, I don't know why you're being blocked on that server, but I can assure you, I can show you many, many references where I've exposed Finchley Road, which is then attributed to me, my name. So, and I've been working with a lot of good people who fully understand the extent of the deception that comes from the corridors of power, who won't want this exposed on the major media because it exposes very senior politicians and prime ministers. That's what it exposes. And as I said, if you want to just, it's a simple thing, follow the money, but you've got to spend the time. And being a retired ex-veteran, I've got the time to do it, to understand the mechanics of how they did it.
Is this predominantly then a tax evasion scam?
Not just tax evasion, it's fraud, theft, money laundering, corporate asset stripping, and deception of the British public where money gets laundered offshore.
Right. Okay. And but are there national assets that are involved in this as well? I mean, we're looking at corruption, sure, but are there national assets or taxpayers' money being abused too?
Bank assets, because when you see where banks loan the companies that I have named millions in a revolving debt facility, what they actually do is they create a toxic debt to the bank, which is then written off, and then the Bank of England has to step in and pay the banks to cover the loss.
Yes, that's right. And for example, I suppose one example of that recently would be Carillion, no?
Carillion, yeah.
A very large employer of lots of government projects went bust. How did that go bust? Was that being asset stripped?
I believe it was being asset stripped or run on revolving debt through the banks.
How is this subject taken seriously by the media, or is that just impossible?
It's impossible because when you check the board of directors of the Sunday Times, Telegraph, the Mail, the Guardian, it does. I always believed that the Guardian was an independent, but
really?
I've given them information that would blow this lot wide open.
Okay, right. Now, I understand that one of the companies that you've uncovered as being a shell company was actually one of the companies that provided, is it correct to say, provided the cladding for Grenfell Tower that burned a year ago?
Army Curtain Wall. And if you check using companies in the UK Limited, you will see the previous address. And it was 788 790 Finchley Road.
But they were trading if they sold cladding, Gordon.
Of course they were trading, but I believe it's a revolving doors organization linked to these addresses, which is through Freemasonry and through political party funding. As in, if you're a Labour Party member and a Freemason, or a Conservative member and a Freemason, you get business opportunities through local councils.
Okay. So, I mean, essentially, we're talking about fascism, aren't we?
I don't want to go there. I'm an ex-serviceman. I'm not interested in... All I'm interested in is understanding the mechanics of stealing billions of pounds.
Fair play. But it is essentially business, corporate, political collusion, isn't it?
Of course, it's political collusion. You can't expect a bank not to provide the answers to where their toxic debt came from, and that can only come from the board and executives of a bank. Like I'm quite well aware of the history of Abbey National Bank and how one of its senior risk analysts, I believe, was murdered.
The addresses that you've raided, if you like, that the addresses
yes.
where the shell companies are listed, which are just vacant buildings very often by the looks of it. They're in the UK, but this operation is worldwide, is it not?
Worldwide, yeah. I can name all the conduit addresses. I've offered the police. I mean, the objectives of the police are to prevent crime.
How high up in the echelons of American politics does this go, for example, this corruption?
To the top. Ask Donald Trump where his bagman's company came out of. It came out of Winnington House, 2 Woodbury Grove, North Finchley.
His
bagman. Which is a conduit address for 788 790 Finchley Road.
His bagman, Gordon.
Yeah, I believe is money movement structure executives. Trust me.
Wow. Okay.
As I said, it's Bill Clinton. Doesn't matter who it is.
Gordon Bowden. Thank you, sir. Great work. My word. Incredible allegations. You've been watching the Daily Brexit with me, Olly Connelly, for Infowars.com. Gordon, I do hope you'll come back on, sir, because we clearly need to expand on all of this quite a lot, huh?
Yeah, you can't make it up.
Thank you.
You couldn't make it up if you tried. Never mind.
Yeah. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy, huh?
Yeah.